What's up, everybody? I figured I'd film a quick video while I still have a little bit of daylight and while I'm thinking about it. So this is my new project truck. Some of you that actually know me might have followed my Instagram that I made specifically for this truck. Anyway, the story is I bought it out of the impound lot. Kid wrecked it. He didn't have insurance because he couldn't afford it, couldn't afford the bailout fee. So it sat in the impound lot for about 8 years, and I bought it back for $400. Right here you can see the crash damage. It got hit right here on the bottom part of the grill into the bumper, hit this cab mount, which tweaked the frame over right here. As far as I can tell, there's no damage past like a foot in. You can see the crease. Maybe if it'll adjust to the light. Yeah, not really. About 8 inches back, there's a crease right here that was from that cab mount pushing over. It does run, but it has a blown head gasket. It's a 1989. Started out as an automatic. And somebody swapped in a stick. Don't know why the shifter's a grenade, but it is. I don't know, thinking about keeping it, thinking about changing it. This is just brake stuff for the back. As you can see, I've got it all torn down. Sorry, I'm just kind of jumping around a lot because I've already done quite a bit to it. So I've got the rear brakes all the way taken apart, and I put the new wheel cylinders in it, but broke the line. So I've got all new pre-bent lines, front to rear, for the entire truck. For the power I want to make out of it, it's just better that way. I put a new fuel pump in it. Just while I've got it apart, I might as well. No telling how long that old one was in there or if it even worked. It does have a fairly decent exhaust on it, or it was decent at one time anyway. I'll probably just patch that corner, do a new muffler very similar to that one, and leave it pretty much alone. I'm not planning on keeping the 350, so I'm not going to mess with headers or anything on it. It will be getting an LS. It'll probably be turboed as soon as I put it in, but maybe not. But anyway, I found out the tank has a rust hole in it after dumping 5 gallons of gas in it. So you can see a little bit of the rainbow here in the rain. Yeah, I mean, I caught as much as I could, but inevitably some of it didn't get caught. So, tree huggers, I apologize. You can see the cab corners have already been replaced, but they do need replaced again. That was solid when I got it, but I just poked at it a little bit to assess the damage, and my finger went right through it. So, the rockers are both pretty well fucked on each side. That's fine though, because these patch panels are pretty cheap. So I'm not too worried about it. It'll give me a chance to learn body work. The doors are brown, but they're not too bad. I mean, they're getting pretty soft here in the corner. From the outside, you can't really see a whole lot. I don't know, maybe I'll put some different doors on it at some point. The whole truck is getting repainted. It's getting new front fenders. I'll do a whole doghouse. Needs a core support, obviously. It's got a new battery in it. The 350 runs freaking great. I'll start it up here in a second for you guys. I've got the bed off of it just to ease the access. I need to do a patch over each wheel well. The inside of the bed is in really good shape. Like no dents or anything in here, no rust. A little bit of scrape paint from where it was actually used as a truck, no big deal. I mean, you can see the Ranger over there. This truck, body-wise, is okay. It's straight, there's no dents, there's no dings, but there is rust. And I freaking hate rust. So I'm gonna get to learn on all of that. Again, the interior. Right there under the armrest is the previous owner's tax papers, I guess. And as of late 2011, early 2012, like first month or two of 2012, this truck was on the road. So that's when it was wrecked. That's where I've got the information that it was in the lot for about 8 years. And it got delivered to my house 2 days before New Year's. So it was almost exactly 8 years. I'm not going to sit down in here because the door was open in the rain, but it was a good swap. The truck will not start without pushing the clutch. It still has a safety interlock. As far as I can tell, it's got the factory pedal bracket and everything up there. These are factory pedals. I do have a Chevy truck of this generation that is a factory stick. So I know what that all looks like. There's no shift indicator here in the cluster, so they either swapped the cluster or deleted it. The only thing that tipped it off was there's no lock here on the ignition. There's no button or anything to push. And this guy right here, that's the shifter. So anyway, yeah, I have ran it through all the gears here on the jack stands. The clutch does disengage properly. It does work. The front brakes are not seized, and the pads are actually in pretty good shape. So I see no reason to replace them. They'll polish up those rotors, no problem. I've got completely 100% new brake hardware and stuff for the rear. The suspension will be QA1 coilovers with Beltec 2-inch drop spindles in the front, and then the coilover set up in the rear eventually. I think for now, I'm just going to leave the suspension alone until brakes and wheel bearings and that stuff starts to go out and when the body work is done. And then, because I really don't want to mess with pulling all this stuff off. If I can help it, I will just leave all of this unit together. The hub on the spindle on the control arms, the brake on the knuckle, and I will just disconnect it from this bolt here, the two bushings at the bottom, and I'll probably just cut off the tie rod because I doubt that's going to come off and it probably needs replaced anyway. So I'm going to do new QA1 tubular upper and lower control arms with the coilover kit. I'll do the Nakamoto drilled and slotted rotors from 1A Auto. I've got those on my green Chevy truck and I really like them. And for $138 for both rotors and both sets of pads, ceramic pads at that, really it's just a good deal. You can't do that price with regular OEM parts. So for drilled and slotted rotors, done. And eventually it'll get some Brembos or something real high performance, but those will do for now. With that, whole front suspension is going to come with a bigger sway bar, so that should really tighten up the front end. And for that whole front suspension setup is going to be between $2,500 and $2,700, and then the same price will be for the rear. I don't feel like spending all that at once, so after the front, I'll probably just do the axle flip with the leaf spring still and the C-notch and call it good there. And then, you know, as time progresses and the truck makes more power, then I'll go to the coilover setup. But yeah, anyway, that's the truck. That's my chassis and body stuff. It's gonna stay red. I like the factory red. It's gonna get a factory grill. Well, I'll come over here and show you the one that was on it. I really like it. This is the pre-94 refresh that was spray painted to the body, and I actually really like the way it looked. The kid that did this had a really good vision. I see what he was doing with the truck, but he didn't have the money for the execution. He had the design, didn't follow through, but he did his best. And I see where he was going. I like his idea, and I'm gonna continue it. It will get the updated, like 95 or 96 and newer plastic mirrors, because I really hate these. Like I said, it'll stay red, 6.4 drop. It'll get black steel D-hole wheels eventually, but these are what came on it, and these are what I'll run for now. These are American Racing aluminum wheels, 15 inches in diameter, and the tires that were on it when I got it were 235/75 15s. And I just so happen to have a full matching set that were in pretty decent shape, just sitting in my barn. So I got those mounted at work, and they are stretched just a little bit. You can kind of see that the sidewall doesn't really bow out as much as it should. They're not stretched much, but they are stretched a little. Whatever. And one of them actually is slightly different than the other three. 3 of them are like this, with the valve core right here in this flat part right here. And then one has the valve core like right here in this small shoulder pointing up like that. Don't know why they're not quite matched. Don't know if it was a different vendor that made that wheel, and he bought them as a set, and it just came with 3 from one vendor and 1 from the other, or if he damaged a wheel and had to reorder it a couple years later and they had changed the design on them. Don't know, but I don't know. Once you notice it, it bothers the hell out of you, so I'm just gonna bother you guys from the beginning. Here's those pre-bent lines. They need straightened out from shipping because they had to bend them all in half. So, good shit.